sister-in-law planned her wedding at my house and uninvited me because I might outshine her. I took my revenge. There's no wedding now. I, 34 female, have been following the sub for a long time. Lately, there's something going on in my life that I needed an opinion on. I read lots of posts involving sister-in-laws to see if someone else has gone through my situation and how they deal with it. Well, I guess the situation is unique for me, and I would need some advice on this. It's about my sister-in-law, that's the reason I cannot discuss this with my husband. You know, family complexities. So here's the thing, my sister-in-law, 27 female, is planning a spring wedding. She wants to organize it at my house. Yeah, that's right. Not to brag, but I own a 4-bedroom house with a pool and a big lawn. She's engaged to an Irish guy, so his family and relatives would need a place to stay over for a night when they come to attend the wedding. We have a pretty spacious living room as well and a big lawn outside. She's planning for an outdoor wedding on the lawn, followed by a dinner/lunch in the living area. That's how she wants this to be. Now, the obvious question is, am I okay with it? Well, I don't know, that's why I'm here seeking advice. Well, let me give you some context. I have been married to my husband for 8 years. We met at grad school. We dated for 4 or 5 years before getting married. He doesn't come from a well-off family, but he is a hardworking, self-made man. My father-in-law worked as a daily wage laborer, and mother-in-law did odd jobs. My husband has a younger sister who has been living with my in-laws. Mind you, she is 27 and still doesn't work. Not only do they provide her with food and shelter, but they also cater to her extravagant demands. By extravagant, I mean beyond their means. Unlike my husband, who has completed his master's, sister-in-law is a school dropout. Her parents didn't even insist she complete her school because she didn't need to be told anything. She is inspired by this new age influencer that a degree doesn't make you rich or successful. It feels weird to me because I've been raised quite the opposite. Though my parents are quite well off, they never served us with any privilege. Yes, we went to a private school, call it luxury or whatever, but beyond that, my parents did nothing to contribute to my career. When my brother and I were in high school, Dad told us that we either grab a scholarship or we get an education loan. He was not going to pay for our college. We used to hate it and thought our dad was a tightwad. We studied hard and got scholarships. Now that I'm older, I realized the goodness of his parenting. He made us self-reliant, especially after seeing my sister-in-law. I'm convinced how important is the role of parents in an individual's life. When I got my first job straight out of college, I went nuts partying and holidaying. Dad sat me down and showed me some good housing property. I was happy that finally he was letting go of some money of his clingy fists, but that wasn't the case. He wanted me to buy the house myself. He paid the down payment, though. He explained the importance of having my own house and the sooner the better. He advised me to rent out half of it to get help on the mortgage. Thanks to his timely advice, I own this house today. Seeing the housing prices now, I think if I hadn't bought it then, I wouldn't be able to get such a spacious property at this rate. If I have to talk about my relationship with my in-laws, it has been okayish. We don't meet that often, they live across the town, and I lead a very busy life. I still have a decent bond with my mother-in-law. We talk once a week, but I just cannot bond with my sister-in-law. I just can't. We are poles apart. She doesn't like me because during our initial interactions, I used to convince her to complete her education and get a job. She thinks I'm jealous of her because her parents are taking care of her while my parents abandoned me to live on my own. The worst part is my in-laws say they're struggling financially, yet they are feeding their 27-year-old daughter. My husband and I offered to help her get a back-office job, but neither she nor my in-laws showed interest. She's a bum, no doubt there, but my in-laws should have pushed her to work, but they are happy to provide for her. Coming to her wedding, there are a couple of reasons why my sister-in-law wants to marry at my house. One is, of course, spacious. She could have the wedding and lunch and dinner all at one place, and even her guests could stay, and they need not book a hotel. Another reason is she cannot afford to rent a venue. If not my house, she has to settle for a city hall wedding. She doesn't earn, and my in-laws don't have a fortune to spend at her wedding. My husband doesn't want to have a say in this because it's my house, and he wants me to take the decision irrespective of what he thinks. That's how my man is, and that's why I love him so dearly. So my problem boils down to this: you guys think I should let her use my house as her wedding venue? Update 1. Tomorrow's the wedding, and today I got to know that I'm not invited. The funny part is that wedding is at my house. Let me start from where I left off last one. So yeah, I agreed to let her use my house for the wedding. I was definitely apprehensive about it, but eventually I came along. Now I regret my decision. I'm fuming with anger, so please excuse me if I just rant my heart out. My sister-in-law is nothing but a expletive who uses men for money in exchange for, you know what. She's not even that pretty, and don't get me started on her dumbness, but you know, once the light goes off, most men don't care about all this. She might be good at what she offers, that's why she was able to hit the jackpot. That's what she calls her fiancé, jackpot. Not only she's shallow, but also a liar. Got to know that her Irish fiancé is quite well off. He works as a banker. Even his family is well-to-do. So in order to impress them, she lied to him that my house was theirs. I knew about this lie long ago, but I didn't mind because I don't care if putting up a facade brings any good for her. Let her be. It doesn't change the truth. When her fiancé proposed to her for marriage, she came to me and almost begged me to let her use my house for the wedding. If this was not enough, my in-laws came pleading for it. They said if I didn't agree to this, they may have to pull out a loan to finance her wedding. I told them, why can't sister-in-law and her fiancé fund it themselves? My in-laws were like, traditionally it's always the girl's family who throws the wedding, and the Irish follow this tradition more than us. I don't know how true this is, so please don't pick up on me, it's not my words. Besides, sister-in-law has already boasted to her fiancé and in-laws about her big house that can host a wedding. Her stupidity made me crack up. I said, what if I don't allow the wedding at my house? I mean, I can do that, right? Don't you think she should have asked me first before committing this to her fiancé? My in-laws nodded and requested I save their reputation. I told them I would do that, but they should have done a better job raising their daughter. See, I don't sugarcoat my words, and maybe that's why they think I'm arrogant. They don't understand that I say this for their own good. You see what happens next? They paraded at my house until I agreed to this. At one point, I was like, it's a matter of 2 days, let's get done with this. And yeah, people asked me in the last post if she offered to pay rent. No. All these happened 3 months ago when I made the original post. Fast forward to 2 days back, sister-in-law arrived with my in-laws and 2 more guys. I was at work. I saw that on the camera installed inside, it was a motion sensor. I called her and asked what was the matter. She said those guys were wedding designers. They were here for a site visit to plan the wedding accordingly. I asked her to be careful with my stuff. She assured me she would take care of it. After I paid off my mortgage last year, I got rid of the renters who were occupying my 2 rooms upstairs. I took a leave from work to set up 2 bedrooms for them. I hired a cleaner to do the task. It's a huge house to clean everything myself. Today, sister-in-law showed up at 6 a.m. while we were still sleeping. She was leaving for her bachelorette next town. She was here to see if everything had been set up properly. She was happy to see that I set up 2 bedrooms for them and rented a bigger dining table for tonight's dinner. She then goes around the house saying, okay, those 2 rooms are set for my in-laws. Mom and Dad would take your bedroom, and I would get your father room with a walk-in closet. Woo! I'm so excited to show them my big house with this fancy stuff. I can't wait to see their amazed expressions when I give them the house tour. I was confused. I mean, where do we fit in? The rest of the conversation goes like this. Sorry, I'm confused. If your parents take up our bedroom, where do we go? Well, I don't know. You can go to your parents' house or maybe check into a hotel for 2 days. You both earn in bombs, pretty sure you can afford it. But why do we move out of our own house? Because to them, it's my parents' house, remember? And you can't live here. It would look very weird for a married brother and his wife living with my parents. I felt dizzy at the conversation. Like, what the F*******. So you're going to portray this to be your parents' house, and you live here like a princess? Pretty much. I was pissed off already. I put up a straight face and asked, so as per your fairy tale, where do we live in case your in-laws ask us? Oh, they won't. I mean, how would they? You guys won't be present here, right? What about our stuff, our photographs? Who would know it's your stuff? I'll tell them it's all mine. The only problem is the pictures of your hallway, we'll have to remove them before they arrive. I sighed and asked, so even if we vacate the house to put up with your facade, we still would be meeting them at your wedding, don't we? What if they ask us then? I asked this question sarcastically, but her answer blew my mind. No. There's some misunderstanding here. You're not attending the wedding and family dinner. Not at all. I was like, what the hell? I'm not sure how this happened, but I never invited you guys to the wedding. Did mom or dad send you the invite? I felt so stupid to talk to her dumb butt. I yelled my husband's name, who was blissfully sleeping. I yelled his name so loud that he ran and came outside. I screamed, did you know that we're not invited to the wedding? Looks like his body was awake, but his mind was still asleep. Who wedding? Oh yes, her wedding. Are we not invited? I mean, why? I said his sister was saying she had not sent the invite to us, so how could we assume that we were invited? He was like, let me grasp the situation. I really don't understand what's happening here. It took him a few minutes and a few repetitions to understand what just happened. He was aghast as to how we could not be invited to the wedding hosted at our house. My sister-in-law said, well, if that bothers you so much, you can attend it, and probably you can say your wife is unwell so she has to skip it. I asked her what was her original reason to justify her absence. The woman had the audacity to laugh at my face and said, oh, you won't believe, I told them that my parents have cut you off because you're too toxic. I was like, wow, what else can I expect from you? I stormed into my room without saying anything. It was so useless to waste my time talking to her. My husband followed me inside and assured me that it was still my decision if I wanted to withdraw my consent. I said I don't know, I'm too mad to think straight. I need to cool down to make a rational decision. That's why I sat down to update it here, thinking this might help. And it helped. I feel much lighter, but this doesn't mean I'm going to bow down to the princess's demands. I don't know what to do now, but I'm definitely not leaving my house to partake in her tale of lies. Whatever happens, I'm going to update this thread. You guys can count on me. Update 2. Hey guys, thanks for engaging in my posts. Yes, you all were right in saying that the pampered princess lives in a delusional world. Before that, let me answer a few common questions from the comments. How can my sister-in-law access my house in my absence? After I agreed the house to be let out for the wedding, I gave her the spare key. The front porch, living room, garden, and pool area are all covered with cameras, so I felt okay sharing the spare key. Second, how come sister-in-law's fiancé bought her lies that the house was hers? Didn't he ever visit her place? I'm not sure how she was able to sell that. She has been dating him for less than a year. 2 weeks before the wedding, she brought him to my place to give him the house tour while I was away at work. After I wrote the update that day, I discussed my thoughts with my husband. Though he was siding with me saying it was my decision, he was worried that if I backed out, his sister's wedding would be called off and his parents' reputation would be ruined. I said, let's talk to your parents then. We drove off to their place. We told them about sister-in-law's plan of excluding us from the wedding. Apparently, they knew about it, and it seemed they were okay with it. My husband lost his mind and said, you guys knew that she was cutting us off from her wedding, and you were okay with it? Mother-in-law responded in a meek voice, we thought you guys were also okay with it. None of you asked us why she hadn't sent you the invite. At this point, I questioned myself if we were wrong in assuming that we were invited in the wedding because it was my house. My husband and I stared at each other in shock. My husband screamed at them, do you guys realize there would be no wedding if she backed out from her decision? What if we tell the truth to her in-laws? Mother-in-law panicked and requested us not to do such a thing. Father-in-law intervened and asked me gently if I would be fine to attend the wedding if sister-in-law sent the invite now. I remained silent and didn't answer because I was fuming in rage. Father-in-law asked mother-in-law to call sister-in-law and ask her to send us the invite right away and apologize to us. Mother-in-law was hesitant to call her, but father-in-law stared at her with red eyes. Mother-in-law shakily calls her. Father-in-law tells her to put the phone on speaker. Sister-in-law responds to the call and yells at mother-in-law for disturbing her at her spa session. Mother-in-law told her it was urgent and that father-in-law wanted her to invite me and my husband to the wedding. She flips out and says, no way I'm inviting that witch. She thinks herself to be too smart. Mother-in-law tried to stop her in between and whispered, they're here with us, but the princess was too busy ranting. She was like, if she meets my in-laws, she's going to outshine me. I want to look the prettiest on my wedding day. On top of that, you know how she always talks about different stuff, jobs, careers, investing, and those blah blah blah, to grab everyone's attention. I don't want that on my wedding. Everyone's focus should be on me. If she's around, she would make me sound dumb, so no, she's not allowed at my wedding. She hung up. I said, I make you sound dumb because you're a dummy, and stormed out of the house. When my husband stood up to leave, my in-laws requested him to calm me down and that they would speak to sister-in-law and make her apologize. Apology, my butt. Meanwhile, sister-in-law dropped me a text that I should get rid of our portraits from the hallway and move out of the house after overseeing the arrangement tomorrow. She was like, my fiancé would reach the venue with his family by 10 a.m., so move out before that, but make sure you drop my parents there before leaving. The wedding planners by themselves. I will be staying over at my friend's place after the bachelorette party. I'll hit the salon directly from here and reach the venue as a bride. Sure, Your Highness. I'm going to plan a perfect wedding for you. By the time we reached home, it was late afternoon. I called up the mechanic and got the locks of the house changed. Later in the evening, my husband called up father-in-law and said we were not allowing the wedding at our place, so better look out for another venue. He tried to call sister-in-law, but she was busy being drunk at her bachelorette. Father-in-law called back in panic, asking what he should do. My husband suggested if he wanted to save his reputation, then better call up his side of the guests and cancel the invite, giving any suitable reason, because there's no way the wedding was happening on this scheduled date and venue. The night was thrilling just by imagining the expressions on sister-in-law's face when her truth came out. Around 6 o'clock in the morning of the wedding day, my doorbell rang. It was the wedding designer. He was here to start the wedding preps. I said it was my house and there was no wedding there. He got confused and said sister-in-law and her fiancé had made the booking for that day. I told him to call them because my house was not up for grabs anymore. An hour later, sister-in-law's fiancé came knocking at my door. I answered the door, and he asked me if sister-in-law was at home because she was not answering the call. I said no, she was not here because it's not her house. He said, maybe there's some confusion here. I'm her fiancé, and we have a wedding today in this house. I'm guessing you're her sister-in-law? I saw your photos in the hallway the other day. I smiled and said, you're right, I'm her sister-in-law, but there is more truth coming your way. Let's start with the basic one. This is my house, and I live here. Sister-in-law and parents-in-law live across the city in an apartment. By the way, congratulations on your wedding, but it's not happening here anymore because I changed my mind. Around 9 a.m., the princess came banging at my door. I didn't answer. She called my husband asking why I chased away the wedding designer. He told her our house wasn't available and she should find another venue. She screamed and banged my door. I opened my window and yelled, "One more bang and you might end up in prison on your wedding day, if it happens." She cursed us and left after neighbors threatened to call the cops. I blocked her number, but she bombarded my husband's phone with filthy voicemails. I asked if he was upset. He said yes, but she had called for it. She was ungrateful, told her fiancé it was her house without asking my permission, then cut us off from the wedding and called me a witch. My in-laws blame me for tarnishing their reputation, which makes me question their values since they were okay with their daughter cutting us off despite hosting at my property. The wedding was called off that day. My sister-in-law and in-laws went to request a week's delay to find another venue. I heard her fiancé called out her lies in front of everyone, said he was calling off the wedding and would rethink the relationship. I'm glad I'm out of this drama. I have a life to lead and a career to excel.